All right, Last2First family, we are back with episode 3 of our mini-series. We're sitting here with David Pickerell from GigSafe, and what we want to get into in the last final episode here is kind of where the puck is going, right? Where the future of the final mile, last mile is going, but also how third-party administrators and GigSafe solution is going to align with that to help us get to where we want to go. David, welcome back to episode 3.
Thanks for having me again.
All right. So, you've been very active on social media, right? I think we go back and forth. We both do a lot of posts on LinkedIn. But what I've appreciated about seeing your journey is that you are actively out there in the field, talking to clients. I got to imagine trying to solve a lot of pain points, but you're not sitting behind a screen. Like you're going out there, getting into the field, want to really get your hands dirty, you and your team. What have been some of the maybe 1 or 2 kind of customer success stories or highlights that you can share about what you've been able to accomplish out there?
Yeah, I think, I've really spent a lot of the last year, on the road, probably 2 out of every 4 weeks on the road. I think, when I came into the industry, we were a little naive. I sort of showed up at the first ECA conference and I was like, our system is better, it's faster, it's cheaper, we're going to get a bunch of people to work with us.
Yeah.
And I think I learned very quickly that relationships really matter, right? They always do. That's something I've known, but particularly in this industry.
Yeah.
And so basically I've gone on a tour pretty much for the last year, just trying to see folks, visit warehouses, sit in people's offices. 1, just to build relationships with people, but 2, to learn, right? And I think I've just been very thankful for a lot of folks that didn't really know me, who sort of just graciously gave me tours, showed me the warehouse, showed me the different things that they're moving. I've been very thankful for sort of that opportunity there. With that, we've had a couple, we started off GigSafe. Most of our customers were actually in catering.
Okay.
So think sort of 300 lunches to JP Morgan sort of a situation.
Wow. It's a big bulky cater order.
Yeah. So not just big catering orders, basically. And we ended up working with a lot of companies that worked with a company called Easy Cater, right? So Easy Cater does a lot of these big bulk catering orders.
Yep.
So shout out to a couple of customers we have there. We, Bolt deliveries, Red Wagon deliveries. These are folks who have built great businesses. Catering's actually quite a good business, right? I think when I talk to folks in last mile, maybe it didn't used to be, but these folks are... they have wonderful businesses, basically, right? Yeah. So we work with these folks to really provide everything out of the box, right? So we are the third-party administrator. We onboard, we credential, we pay, we insure, all of it on behalf of them, basically, so that they can focus on just doing that day-to-day work.
Yeah.
And then we started to expand beyond that, right? So we have a company, Logiscal. They're actually our biggest customer right now.
Okay.
And they really focus on routed delivery work for meal kits, basically, right? And the same thing there, where we're able to, in their own words, free up 20 to 30 hours of their team's time per week on the compliance and all of that, so that they can focus on actually doing that delivery work.
Yeah.
And that was sort of really our bread and butter for a while. And those are companies, a lot of these companies we'd actually worked with at Para and helped them do driver recruiting.
Okay. So,
but beyond that, I think we've really started to expand into, parcel has been a big one for us recently. Pharmaceutical has been a big one for us. So sort of pharmaceutical, life science, healthcare, all of that. And I'm trying to break more into big and bulky is sort of this year's frontier on my perspective. But I think one of the strengths of our system too is we're modular, right? So I'll give we help companies such as Airspace. They do air freight forwarding, right? They're super large. I know a lot of delivery companies actually work with them. So if you go to the Airspace website and click on sign up to be a driver, we are the onboarding for them, basically. So for Airspace, we only do the onboarding, the credentialing, and the compliance.
Okay.
We don't do payments. We don't do any of that stuff.
Right.
But if you sign up to be an Airspace driver, it's through us, right? So that's sort of been one of our bigger success stories.
Okay.
And they flow tens of thousands of drivers through the system.
Walk me through, so we didn't get into this earlier, but what is the driver's experience when they go through onboarding through the GigSafe kind of module? What do they see? How does it actually work? Give us the picture.
So for most customers, it's an Indeed post, a Monster post, a Courier board post, something like that. Driver clicks on the button and it goes to our web app for the driver. It starts off with the simple create an account. You start off by scanning your ID. So we verify insurance. Verify identity, right? So you can scan an ID, take a selfie, and that's how we ensure that you are who you are, talking about doing all the compliance well. But beyond that, it really depends on what the customer wants to set up as their onboarding flow. So, we have 25 different onboarding modules that go all the way from, verify your insurance, verify your vehicle registration, HIPAA forms, to custom trainings, custom videos, custom questionnaires with logic, background checks, drug screening, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So really, it depends on what our customers want. So some customers will have a very simple flow. Some customers will have a very complicated flow. Some customers will want their, checks and balances in the flow, basically. So take airspace as an example. They have a bunch of these questionnaires that halfway through the flow, their team has to decide who gets to continue going through the flow. Right?
So you can manually kind of come in,
Yep.
distinguish yay or nay.
Correct. And they're sort of interesting because, it depends on the model, right? So some of our customers, like catering companies, they're onboarding, thousands of drivers, and they have thousands of drivers, but that's because each driver's not doing that much work. We have other companies where they have, 200 drivers, or maybe probably the company you used to run, right? 150 drivers, but they're doing a lot of work. Right. So I think what's nice with this system is we can build it depending on, we service both of those needs, basically. So the high volume, high churn shops, and we want to keep the same folks around shops. We work with both types, basically.
Got it. And then, we talked a little bit about driver benefits. I was talking to someone else. It's going to be an episode. I'm not sure when this will air or not, but with Walmart. And Walmart's Spark program, and how they have kind of gamified, the IC benefits management. So they're doing all kind of things within their app to incentivize drivers to work longer, take more hours, try to help them find better paying jobs, or when they may have jobs that aren't so good paying, they can earn some benefits to kind of get them to the next big paying job. So. Are you doing anything, you're looking at things inside? You mentioned one of your clients wanted you to kind of maybe expand to communicate with drivers through the platform. Do you see these kind of fringe benefits becoming more and more popular?
I do, right? So I actually think that we have a bunch of potential customers who said, hey, I won't move to your system unless you have this good set of benefits with the driver. When it comes to sort of gamifying it and all of that, that will take a while, right? And I also think how you do that is very important. Right? Because that can really cross into sort of that misclassification or doing it the wrong way.
Definitely. Well, that's phenomenal. I love that you guys are solving these problems at the ground level and building benefits. What are some other examples of customers that you've had success with?
I think one of my favorite customers right now is OTD Florida.
Okay.
So I sort of met Jesse at the ECA, I don't know, roughly a year ago, and sort of kept in touch and sort of built a relationship and built that trust over time. So they really specialize in that sort of Florida to Florida delivery, and they really directly compete with UPS, FedEx, etc., right? Which I'm always sort of really impressed by. And really, they really loved the continuous compliance, the saving the team time, and also we were able to save them money on their insurance as well, right? So that was great, but that's not what I really loved. What I loved is when I went to go see them in person, I actually sort of sat down with the dad and sat down with the granddad. And this, like, these are, a lot of these are family businesses. And the dad asked me, he's like, we've been doing this for 42 years. Like, we value long relationships. How do I know that I can work with you for the next 42 years? Right?
Great question.
And I think that was really sort of something that really sort of stuck with me. Right? And I really hope that I can work with them, and hopefully Jesse and my kids can work together. Right? Which would be pretty exciting. But that was sort of something that really stuck out to me. And I think I'm thankful for them because I think we're starting to break more, frankly, into the CLDA and ECA world. So a lot of our original customers were actually sort of not the sort of folks that you and I know at these conferences. But that's starting to change. I'm thankful to them for being sort of the first of many to come.
And that's I think what you've done in building those relationships like that is what long term will take you to where you want to go. I mean, no matter what you're doing in life, right? Relationships are critical, right? People do business with people they know, that they trust. And that's a great question to ask you, right? How can they ensure that you're going to be around for 42 years? And I think, it's as long as you continue to do what you're doing, right? And you kind of keep that personal touch, that's where I see a lot of success continue to happen for GigSafe and for anybody else that's kind of marching down that path. I want to also segue into other types of clients. So you mentioned catering. Any other types of clients you guys work with and support outside of kind of catering and final mile, last mile?
Yeah, so sort of a catering, life science, pharmaceutical, big and bulky package, I'd say, are most of the customers that we have right now.
Okay.
We have a couple other folks who I've always told them, like, we didn't design the system for you, but if you want to use it, you should use it. And at some point I will come and like customize it for you. So we have, interestingly, 2 independent film crew companies. They film ads, they film movies. Interestingly, those folks have the hardest background checks I've ever seen.
Really?
Which I would not have expected.
Film crews.
Yeah, film crews. Because they have to go onto, one of them had to go onto Google Campus to film an ad.
Yeah.
We had to call the universities to ensure that they got their college degrees on their resume. We had to like go and call multiple federal agencies to ensure they weren't on all these very specific financial crime lists that aren't included in the normal background check package.
Wow.
But if you think about it, they're 1099. Those folks want occupational accident insurance. They need coverage. They drive to the job.
Yeah.
Right? So what I've always said is like, I'm thankful you're using the system. Give me a couple months, I'll get back to you and we'll make it better.
Right.
We have sort of process serving has been interesting, right? So same thing, I never thought about it, but they need to go drive and serve folks, and they need occupational accident, et cetera.
Right.
Landmen, right? So we're started to talk to sort of like folks.
Landmen?
Yeah, like I joke, it's sort of like that Yellowstone TV show, right? But folks who go and try to buy land for the oil companies, or folks who then need to go to City Hall and see who owns the land to see if they can try to buy the land for the oil companies. But that's 1099.
Okay.
But over time, I'm excited to sort of delve into other things there. And we had a lot of experience doing some of that stuff at Para, right? But at the end of the day, focus is key. So what I tell my team is like, we might try to build some stuff for those folks, but later.
Yeah.
We're in the final mile industry. I want to continue to build stuff for final mile companies. Better recruiting, better tracking, better insurance policies. That's where I want to spend my time. So that's why I think I told these other folks, it's interesting, use it. I just can't give you as much love right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, and then you think about where the industry is going, right? We talked about where the puck is going, and you've talked about just kind of what you've seen from your experience. Obviously, early days Uber, 0 to 100-some thousand drivers in 30 days, or so. This space is going to continue to grow and evolve and expand, different needs, different types of clients, but within final mile, like, what do you see happening? Are there any external factors? We talked about regulations, misclassifications. What external factors may be pushing to where this puck is going that you guys are looking at and trying to solve?
I think 1099 is only, the wave is moving. Right? I mean, what was surprising for me was, and I tell a lot of folks who are not in our final mile world, you look at what some of these companies do, organs are being transported to the airport and picked up from the airport by 1099 workers, right? Like if you we came back 10 years ago, that probably seemed crazy, right? So this tidal wave of 1099 is going to continue to move, basically, right? But I think what you're also going to see is what I saw shifting Para to final mile is there's sort of like delivering DoorDash, but there's more professional 1099 type work, basically. But the problem with that is the compliance requirements, the credentialing requirements, all of that. And that's why I think for GigSafe, what I think we want to unlock is to basically say, hey, we can turn compliance into your competitive advantage, right? It's like, there's all these harder requirements, there's all these things you need to do, but it's not that hard. Let us just do what we're good at. Let us do the block and tackling for you, so that you can be great, basically, right?
So what you mean, like shippers are they're going to give business to certain carriers that meet certain regulations. Like shippers, do you see shippers now getting deeper into looking into the visibility of how I'm making sure that my driver network is compliant?
I would love to see if you guys see that, but I think that's most of the time where we see customers come to us with additional requirements. So I have my existing, an example is, EasyCater is now shifting to a 2 million umbrella and needs me to provide occupational accident to the drivers, right? Can you help me do that? So that's a very simple level of that. But what we've started to see more and more is also customers come to us and say, I have a potential new shipper, but this new shipper needs me to implement this specific video credential. Marco needs me to show this video to all the drivers, for example, right?
Yeah.
Or the shipper now wants to see visibility through the master and through the sub. Or the shipper wants to see who are the other carriers that I'm working with. And I think this is just starting, but we're starting to see this more and more of sort of shippers wanting to see end-to-end compliance. Because I think they realize that at the end of the day, if you're getting sued and it's going up the chain, the shipper's the biggest dog out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
it's a great point because it's one of the things we're working on. You think about like the board, what we do from a COD perspective, right? We're really big into advocacy and trying to proactively communicate to legislators about what we really do in our space and why we properly use the independent contractor model. But the reality is, right now, for the most part, a lot of that battle has been, from a financial standpoint, been borne by the carriers, right? Even you have a lot of experience with working with Uber, right? Uber spent boatloads of money on trying to make sure we protect this IC model. We're now trying to get shippers to put some skin in the game because the reality is, to your point, it's all going to ride uphill, right? If these issues will continue to exacerbate themselves until we get everyone in this ecosystem involved on this issue, which is the proper use of the IC model. And a solution like GigSafe helps us to make that argument more succinct.
And that's why I say sort of as your competitive advantage is like, one, we can save you money as a company and run more efficiently. But beyond that, if you're competing for work, right, you're making a bid with a shipper. At the end of the day, folks care about dollars, right? And I think we've talked about this a lot, is the problem is, folks will undercut you and do something that doesn't make sense for everybody. But I imagine a world where you can go to the shipper and say, look, I might be slightly more expensive, but I am compliant. That is a competitive advantage. And at the end of the day, that will protect you and save you dollars down the line. Right? And I think that's really where I want, what we're hoping to do. So that's really sort of our new tagline is, let's make compliance your competitive advantage.
Yeah, I love that. And then let's talk about the team, the GigSafe team, right? So I'm talking to you, but after it's a team around you, what's the infrastructure of the team? Kind of where are they located at, and what are the day-to-day kind of functions?
So I'd say 60% of the team is actually engineering, right? So engineering, design, etc. And I think that's really on purpose, right? So we have a base system that I believe very strongly in. But what I've learned is customers have specific needs, specific flows, specific things they want built out. And I think that's something that differentiates us versus others is, for customers, we're willing to meet every 2 weeks and continue to tweak it till your team has exactly what they need, right? So by design, we're sort of engineering heavy there because I love to tell customers, just tell me all the things you want. I can't do all of them immediately, but I can do most of them quickly, right? And I think that's really, and what we've learned is if I build for one customer, it ends up being helpful for most of the customers, basically. So I'd say a lot of our team is sort of engineering heavy there, led by, and what's nice is I've actually worked with that team since Para. So it's the same engineering team mostly that we've worked together for 5 years at this point, right? So I think that's why we're able to, the company's 14-month-old, but we can build great things quickly. But beyond that, I think we also have an operations team that I think is really exceptional, right? So we have a guy, Daryl, on our team who helps stand up deliver that. But before that, he'd done 25,000 trips as a gig driver. Right? So between Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, all of that. So he runs our driver support. So guess what? He's really good at it because he's been on the other side of it. I have a guy on our team, Heath. He was a deputy security coordinator at American Expediting. And he deals with all of our compliance. So he's the guy reviewing the STA forms, reviewing all the different compliance documents. Fun fact about Heath, he was a SWAT officer for many years, and his code name was Brick. So he was the guy who were on the SWAT team. He was the guy kicking down the door.
That's the guy you want over compliance.
Yeah, that's the guy you want in compliance, right? Like, nothing, Heath's a big guy, nothing passes Heath, basically, right? Like, and beyond that, we just have sort of Daniel on my team, who's really focused on sort of insurance and compliance as well. And we just have a bunch of other folks who really specialize in backgrounds in automations, backgrounds in all this sort of stuff. So really, folks see me on LinkedIn, but really the team is why we're good.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right, so David, let's maybe wrap up on this thought about the future. Let's go a little deeper into the future. So, you mentioned that we've seen some external pressures. We want to get shippers involved. You've seen shippers kind of maybe pushing the envelope a little bit on what carriers need to do. We talked about master contractors, kind of carriers as agents, compliance there. Haven't spent a lot of time talking about the driver themselves and how the driver. We know they are the most critical component of what we sell in terms of our service. Where's the puck going for the driver? And then how does the GigSafe solution allow the driver as a part of that network to help them achieve and win more jobs and be more successful?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, as we talked about earlier, as 1099 continues to expand, there's just sort of more of these opportunities for companies to be able to get and for drivers to be able to get, right? So I think where it really needs to go is we just need to make it really easy for a company to win new contracts and for a driver to be able to up-level themselves into opportunities that they would be good for. Right? I think that was really some of the original thought behind Para is, can I take a DoorDash driver and help transition them into other good work?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to continue to happen as 1099 expands, right? And it just doesn't have to be so damn hard, right? At the end of the day, maybe I'm crazy, but I just sort of look at this being like, I can't help a delivery company decide if a driver is going to be good for the work or not. That's on the company. But I want to make it as easy as possible to take a good driver and get them everything they need and teed up so that a company can decide whether they're the right person for the job to do that or not, right?
So you don't have any, because you talk about this a lot of times. You win a piece of business, and sometimes you have a 30-day ramp up period, right? So you've got to hire a bunch of people, train a bunch of people. It's a lot to happen in a short amount of time.
Yep.
So any delay on that is going to jeopardize your ability to be successful on a new opportunity.
Yep.
So you're saying that the solution with GigSafe is if you guys can proactively get drivers in, they can kind of credential themselves, understand where they're good at, maybe needs more support at.
Yep.
That can accelerate that process.
Yeah, and then let the delivery company spend the time worrying about who would be good for it, not chasing IDs and HIPAA trainings.
Yeah.
Right?
Focus on the core value, what they need to solve from an ops standpoint.
Exactly.
Not checking the box off.
Yeah, exactly. You should focus on making sure that customer is happy, getting the operation good, not worried about, hey, why hasn't this driver got me his HIPAA form? Right.
And let's wrap up. Just the last question is if we can envision 5 years from now, where GigSafe is in this new ecosystem of last mile, final mile gig. What do you see the future holding for you guys?
Yeah, I just really want to be the place that we can help delivery companies grow. Right? So you have a new contract, you have a new set of requirements, you're pushing into a new industry or vertical. We just want to be the system behind you that helps you do that.
Yeah.
Right? So be it from the onboarding the drivers to getting the new insurance requirements to being able to win, basically, let's say you get a new piece of business, and to do that, you need this heavier insurance requirement. Rather than having to fork out cash, we just want to make it real easy for you to be able to do that. So I really view that as, can we help support your growth by making compliance your competitive advantage? And that's really what we're trying to do. So my hope is 5 years from now, we'll be here on the podcast and we'll have an interesting chat.
Let's do it. Well, David, thanks for being here. Thank you for what you're doing in this industry. I love the creativity, the innovation you guys are bringing into the space. And if you're out in the audience, you're looking for a third-party administrator, or you're looking to just understand more about compliance, more about IC management, and what tools are available to you, give David and his team a call at GigSafe. Phenomenal company. They're doing really good work. So, David, thanks for being a part of the Last2First podcast. Love the episode. We're here in Austin, Texas, our hometown. Yeah. So we got to get some more of that Japanese whiskey.
Hey, yes, we do. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for being with us. That was episode 3 of our mini-series with GigSafe. And we'll be back with more. Last2First family. Peace out. Thank you.